At the heart of a drama unfolding under the public gaze, Keir Starmer has issued what many are calling a 3-day ultimatum, demanding that Prince William back down or face a vote of no confidence. The tension is palpable. Starmer, known for his measured tone and legal background, has moved into unusually confrontational terrain, signaling that the situation is no longer one of gentle persuasion, but high-stakes pressure. Word of the ultimatum spread swiftly, racing through political corridors and media outlets alike, setting off a flurry of speculation about what exactly Starmer wants William to do, and what he's prepared to do if that demand is not met. In issuing the 3-day window, Starmer clearly signaled that this is not an airy threat, but a countdown to decisive action, a deadline shimmering with consequence for all parties involved. Already, this shift in tone has drawn attention to Starmer's strategy. Historically, Starmer has held back from overt confrontation when possible, preferring to leverage procedural mechanisms and parliamentary scrutiny rather than personal showdowns. But in this moment, he appears to believe that the stakes are too high for mild measures. Perhaps he views William's resistance as a form of impasse that cannot be negotiated away, or perhaps he sees the optics of delay as a risk to his position or to his ambitions. Whatever his internal calculus, the toughness of the ultimatum signals that Starmer believes he has a credible path to victory if he acts quickly and decisively. And for the team behind him, the message is clear. The clock is now ticking, and hesitation may cost more than just face. On the other side of the equation is Prince William, a figure who has long navigated public life with a blend of duty, restraint, and personal charisma. For him, the ultimatum presents a dilemma: comply and perhaps preserve immediate calm, or resist and trigger a showdown that could reverberate far beyond the walls of the palace or parliament. William's choices in the next 72 hours will shape not just this moment of crisis, but perceptions of his leadership, his alliances, and his willingness to bend political weight or moral authority. If he accepts Starmer's demand, he may be seen as yielding under pressure. If he resists, he risks being painted as obstructionist or even defiant of political norms. In either scenario, the stakes for William are high. Public optics, royal precedent, and political leverage all hang in the balance. Meanwhile, observers across the political spectrum are pouring in commentary. Some argue that Starmer's ultimatum is a masterstroke, a calculated move to force William's hand, to force a public reckoning that benefits Starmer's standing and puts his adversary on the defensive. Others warn that the move is risky, that Queen-era traditions and royal conventions should not be trampled by expedient politics, and that Starmer may misjudge the latent power and public goodwill of William. And then there's the vote of no confidence looming. If William does not accede, Starmer has signaled the next step is formal. That raises the question: are we witnessing the build-up to a constitutional crisis? A royal political clash that drags the monarchy into the partisan fray? Or a moment where parliamentary power reasserts itself in dramatic fashion? The timer has begun, and what happens in the coming days will ripple in multiple arenas. For Starmer's labor movement, it's a moment to prove muscle, to show that the leader can take bold action and deliver outcomes rather than just promises. For William and his inner circle, it's a moment of choice, to stand firm, to negotiate behind closed doors, to seek a face-saving compromise, or to prepare for the fallout. For the media and the public, it's a spectacle where the institutional architecture of Britain, royalty, government, and opposition are colliding in a contest of will, image, and legitimacy. One can almost hear the stopwatch tick. Will William blink? Will Starmer hold his nerve? Behind the scenes, the whisper campaigns are already in motion. Allies on both sides are said to be mobilizing. Starmer's camp is reportedly meeting with key parliamentary figures, preparing the motion of no confidence and lining up votes. Meanwhile, royal advisors are quietly exploring whether William may comply in part, stall the clock, or mount a counteroffensive. The mood is tense, urgent. The notion of a 3-day ultimatum itself carries dramatic weight. 3 days evokes urgency, crisis, the moment of truth. It is no vague "sometime soon." It is a deadline carved in public view. And the public, the press, the political class, they are all watching to see if that deadline is honored, ignored, or extended. What is at stake is more than a single decision or one leader's fate. It is a question of power dynamics in the UK, how the monarchy interacts with politics, how a sitting opposition leader uses constitutional levers, what the boundaries of acceptable behavior are for both prince and politician. If William backs down, does this mark a shift in the balance between royal discretion and political direction? If he resists and loses, does this weaken the monarchy's standing or bolster the authority of Parliament? And if Starmer overreaches and stumbles, might he expose himself to backlash, internal rebellion, or loss of public confidence? As the hours count down, the narrative of the ultimatum is evolving. What began as a headline, "Back down or face vote of no confidence," is turning into a high-stakes drama of personalities, institutions, and strategy. Every statement, every wink, every glance will be dissected. Social media is alight with speculation. Will William comply? Is Starmer bluffing? What is the hidden message behind the 3-day window? Commentators are parsing the timing, the phrasing, the symbolism, the use of 3 days itself, signaling urgency and finality. Some say the ultimatum is less about the substantive issue and more about projecting strength to show Starmer is in control, that he can force a confrontation on his terms. In that light, it's worth zooming into the potential risk for Starmer. Ultimatums carry inherent danger. If William calls his bluff, or if the vote of no confidence fails, Starmer's credibility could suffer. He could be left appearing aggressive yet ineffective, a leader who threatened big and delivered little. For his party, that could cost momentum, internal cohesion, and public support. On the other hand, if he succeeds, the reward is significant. A demonstration of decisive leadership, a forced hand by a historic institution, and the consolidation of his position not just as leader of the opposition, but as a political heavyweight capable of real action. For William, the risk is somewhat different, but no less grave. Yield too fast and you appear weak. Stand firm and lose, and you could erode public trust and institutional respect. What adds another layer of intrigue is the unresolved what happens next scenario. Starmer's ultimatum sets a single visible fork: comply or face a vote. But behind that lie multiple hidden paths: negotiation behind closed doors, partial concession, public face-saving gestures, delaying tactics, or even a surprise compromise at the last minute. It is entirely possible that William opts to give a yes-but response. Yes in principle, but with conditions or a time frame extension, or slightly modified terms. Such a move would change the narrative from confrontation to negotiation, from standoff to deal-making. Starmer may be ready for that too. His ultimatum may be more a lever to push the prince into the room than a genuine expectation of full capitulation. The public might be witnessing less a hard ultimatum and more a catalyst for a behind-the-scenes settlement. Public reaction is also shaping up to be critical. Some segments view the royal political showdown as a refreshing shakeup. Modernizing monarchy meets proactive opposition, institutions are tested, power is exercised openly. Others see it as risky theater, a breakdown of decorum, a distraction from more pressing issues such as cost of living, public services, health. Will the public side with Starmer's push and demand accountability from William in fresh ways, or will sympathy tilt toward the prince, seen as under attack? Polls in the coming days will gauge not just the specific demand, but the broader mood. Do people feel the ultimatum is fair or heavy-handed? Are they concerned about the monarchy's role, or excited by Starmer's boldness? The optics are everything. In the days ahead, the world will watch how the deadline unfolds. Is there a meeting scheduled? Will William issue a statement? Will Starmer, in the meantime, gather signatures, secure backing from his MPs, formally file for a no-confidence motion? Each step will be scrutinized. The schedule, the people present, the language used. If William fails to respond by the deadline, the heat will shift to the no-confidence vote. That's when the stakes elevate from words to formal parliamentary action. At that moment, the question is whether Starmer's ultimatum was a prelude to a crisis or the beginning of an institutional reset. And beyond the immediate moment lies the legacy question. How will history judge this confrontation? If Starmer forces compliance, it may be seen as the moment when parliamentary politics reasserted itself over royal prerogative. If William resists and prevails, it may be seen as a reaffirmation of the monarchy's subtle but enduring power in Britain's constitutional architecture. Either way, the narrative will play out for weeks, months, even years in political textbooks, press retrospectives, and public memory. The 3-day ultimatum will be referenced as a turning point, a moment when old certainties shifted, even if in small increments. It's worth thinking about timing, too. Why 3 days? Why now? Starmer may have calculated that delaying longer gives William and his allies time to mobilize, to test the waters, to fragment the opposition. By compressing the time frame, he forces a moment of truth before countermeasures can gather steam. William may have fewer good response options because the window is narrow. The instinct to wait, to consult, to assess might itself become a disadvantage under a ticking clock. It is psychological as much as political. Urgency breeds mistakes, forces decisions, cuts off opt-out routes. In short, Starmer's ultimatum is as much about creating the context of action as it is about the content of demands. From the vantage point of the public narrative, the drama has all the trappings of a thriller. The countdown, the ultimatum, the confrontation between a politician and a royal, the looming vote of no confidence as the shadow of high stakes. Stars, symbols, tradition, power, and the public eye, all colliding. For viewers, it's not just politics, it's theater. And perhaps that is not a coincidence. In this age of media spectacle, the framing matters. Starmer is framing himself as a modern force of accountability. William is cast as the old guard under pressure. The clock is ticking. The world is watching. Still, meaningful questions remain. What exactly does Starmer want William to do? Is it a specific policy change, a public apology, a withdrawal, a clarification? The vagueness of back down invites interpretation, and that may be intentional. By not spelling out every detail publicly, Starmer keeps the pressure dial high, gives William less room to negotiate externally, and retains flexibility internally. For William, the ambiguity is tricky. If he asks for clarification, that looks defensive. If he acts before he's ready, that looks rash. The interplay of public ultimatum and private negotiation is delicate, and both sides know it. In the end, when the 3 days are up, several things can happen. William might announce compliance, signaling a resolution and perhaps restoring calm, but the political ripple will already have occurred. He might defy the demand, triggering the motion of no confidence and a public showdown that could destabilize more than one institution. Or he might propose a compromise, sidestepping the formal vote, but leaving both sides claiming some victory. Whichever path is chosen, the precedent matters. Future leaders, royals, institutions will watch how this plays out, how much leverage, back down, or face no confidence really carries. To the viewers at home, this is a moment to ask, what does this say about the balance of power in Britain today? A man who once prosecuted with rigor now issues ultimatums. A prince who mostly stayed above political fray now stands center stage. A 3-day countdown frames an episode that could be routine or historic. And for those who care about constitutional norms, democratic accountability, royal role in the modern era, these days may mark the hinge of change. As the timer winds down, the question isn't just whether William will comply or not. It's how the country, the institutions, the electorate will respond, and how the aftermath will be governed by precedent, optics, and consequence. So keep an eye on the meetings, the statements, the press coverage. Watch for the tone changes, for the alliances that shift, for the behind-the-scenes maneuvers. Because when the deadline hits, when the ultimatum either produces action or escalates into confrontation, we'll be witnessing more than a political jab. We'll be witnessing a test of Britain's constitutional choreography. And in that moment, whether Starmer succeeds or not, the story will have already changed.